Walking in their shoes, how one podiatrist's journey revolutionizes healthcare and community impact. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed listeners, welcome to a truly extraordinary episode of the Black CEO podcast. Today, we're about to embark on a journey that will challenge your perceptions, ignite your passion, and perhaps even change the way you think about healthcare and community impact. We have the privilege of delving into the remarkable story of Dr. Tanisha Richmond, a visionary podiatrist who has been quietly revolutionizing healthcare in Dayton, Ohio for the past 16 years. Now, you might be thinking, a podiatrist? Really? But I promise you, by the end of this talk, you'll understand why Dr. Richmond's story is not just about feet. It's about breaking barriers, transforming lives, and redefining what it means to be a true healthcare hero. Dr. Tanisha Richmond isn't just any podiatrist. She's the only African-American female running a solo podiatry practice in Dayton, Ohio. But that's just the beginning of what makes her extraordinary. For 16 years, she's been more than a doctor. She's been a lifeline, an educator, and a beacon of hope for thousands of patients, particularly those battling diabetes. Imagine, if you will, a world where every healthcare professional approached their work with the same level of dedication, innovation, and compassion as Dr. Richmond. It's a world where patients aren't just treated, but empowered, where healthcare isn't just a service, but a partnership, where one person's vision can spark a revolution in community health. This, my friends, is the world Dr. Tanisha Richmond is creating, one patient at a time. Now, let's take a moment to truly appreciate the magnitude of what Dr. Richmond has accomplished. Picture yourself in her shoes, pun absolutely intended. You're the only African-American female podiatrist with a solo practice in your city. The weight of representation sits heavily on your shoulders. You're not just running a business, you're breaking ground, shattering stereotypes, and paving the way for future generations. But here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Richmond isn't content with just being a successful podiatrist. No, she's taken it upon herself to be a one-woman army in the fight against diabetes-related amputations. In a world where foot health is often overlooked, she's made it her mission to educate, treat, and quite literally save lives and limbs. Let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a doctor who doesn't just treat symptoms, she prevents catastrophes. She doesn't just heal, she empowers. And she does all this while running a successful solo practice in a field where she's a pioneer. Now, I know what like some of you might be thinking, aren't you? That's great, but how does this apply to me? I'm not a doctor. I don't even particularly like feet. Well, hold on to your socks, because Dr. Richmond's approach to healthcare and community impact is a masterclass in leadership, innovation, and social responsibility that we can all learn from. Let's break it down, shall we? First, there's the sheer audacity of her vision. In a healthcare system that often feels impersonal and rushed, Dr. Richmond has created a model of care that is deeply personal, educational, and empowering. She doesn't just treat feet, she treats people. She doesn't just prescribe, she educates. Imagine if we all approached our work with that level of holistic thinking. Whether you're a teacher, a business owner, or a corporate employee, what if you saw your role not just as performing a task, but as part of a larger mission to educate, empower, and improve lives? Then there's her innovative approach to patient care. Dr. Richmond understands that in today's world, healthcare doesn't stop at the clinic door. That's why she's taken her mission of education and empowerment to new platforms. She hosts a podcast called Rich Feet on Spotify, spreading valuable insights about foot health, diabetes management, and overall wellness to a wider audience. But she doesn't stop there. Recognizing the challenges many face in accessing quality healthcare products, Dr. Richmond has curated an Amazon store. This isn't just any online shop. It's a carefully selected collection of products for foot care, from diabetic footwear to solutions for heel pain. She's essentially created a one-stop shop for foot health, endorsed by a professional she trusts, herself. Now, let's pause for a moment and consider the brilliance of this approach. Dr. Richmond has effectively extended her reach far beyond the confines of her Dayton clinic. She's not just treating the patients who walk through her door. She's potentially helping thousands more who may never set foot again, pun intended, in her office. This, my friends, is what true innovation looks like. It's not always about inventing new technologies or disrupting entire industries. Sometimes it's about finding new ways to solve old problems, about extending your impact beyond your immediate sphere of influence. But here's where Dr. Richmond's story gets really powerful. Remember, she's doing all of this as the only African-American female running a solo podiatry practice in her city. The significance of this cannot be overstated. In a healthcare system where representation matters deeply, Dr. Richmond isn't just treating patients, she's changing perceptions. She's proving that excellence in healthcare knows no racial or gender boundaries. She's paving the way for future generations of African American women who might see her and, for the first time, envision a future for themselves in podiatry or other medical fields. This is the power of representation. It's not just about diversity for diversity's sake. It's about providing better, more empathetic care to a diverse population. It's about understanding the unique health challenges faced by different communities and addressing them with knowledge, compassion, and cultural competence. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, that's all well and good, but I'm not in healthcare. How does this apply to me? Well, my friends, that's where you're wrong. Dr. Richmond's approach to her work and her community is a blueprint for impact that we can all learn from, regardless of our field. Think about it. How many of us approach our work with the same level of purpose and passion that Dr. Richmond brings to hers? How many of us see our roles not just as jobs, but as opportunities to educate, empower, and improve lives? Dr. Richmond's story challenges us to think bigger about our own impact. It asks us to consider how can we use our unique positions, whatever they may be, to affect positive change. How can we extend our influence beyond our immediate responsibilities? How can we be not just professionals, but educators and empowerers in our own right? But let's dig deeper, because there's another crucial lesson in Dr. Richmond's story: the power of resilience and adaptability. Running a solo practice for 16 years is no small feat. The healthcare landscape is constantly changing, and the challenges of being a minority business owner in a competitive field are significant. Yet, Dr. Richmond hasn't just survived, she's thrived. She's continuously adapted, learned, and grown to better serve her patients and her community. Her resilience isn't just about weathering tough times. It's about consistently evolving to meet the changing needs of those she serves. This, my friends, is a lesson we can all take to heart. In a world that's changing at breakneck speed, resilience and adaptability aren't just nice to have qualities, they're essential for success and impact. Now, let's talk about the ripple effect of Dr. Richmond's work. Every patient who leaves her office isn't just walking out with healthier feet. They're leaving with knowledge, with a deeper understanding of their overall health, with tools to prevent future complications. These patients then go on to share this knowledge with their families, their friends, their communities. This is how real, lasting change happens. It's not always about grand gestures or sweeping reforms. Often, it's about consistent, everyday actions. The extra time spent with a patient, the thoughtful advice given, the genuine care shown that create the most significant impact over time. And here's where it gets really exciting. Dr. Richmond's impact isn't limited to her patients or even to her local community. Through her podcast and her Amazon store, she's potentially reaching thousands of people who may never set foot in her clinic. She's created a model of care and community impact that transcends geographical boundaries. This is the power of thinking beyond traditional limitations. It's about asking yourself, how can I extend my impact? How can I use the tools and platforms available to me to reach more people, to share more knowledge, to create more positive change? Now, I want you to take a moment and really let this sink in. One person driven by passion and purpose is changing countless lives. She's not just treating feet, she's preventing amputations, she's educating communities, she's changing perceptions about who can be a healthcare leader. This, my friends, is what it means to create real lasting impact. It's not about the size of your platform or the scope of your influence when you start. It's about the passion you bring to your work, the purpose that drives you, and your willingness to continually evolve and expand your impact. So, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. I want you to think about your own life, your own work. Are you merely going through the motions, or are you, like Dr. Richmond, actively seeking ways to make a lasting impact? How can you use your skills, your position, your unique perspective to uplift others and contribute to your community? What's your equivalent of saving lives and limbs? How can you educate and empower others in your sphere of influence? How can you use your unique position to break barriers and pave the way for others? Remember, Dr. Richmond didn't set out to be a trailblazer or a community icon. She simply committed to providing the best possible care to her patients day in and day out. Her impact grew organically from her dedication to her work and her patients. This teaches us that we don't need grand gestures to make a difference. Often it's the consistent everyday actions that create the most significant impact over time. It's about showing up day after day with passion, purpose, and a commitment to excellence. So I challenge you, how will you show up differently tomorrow? How will you approach your work, not just as a job, but as an opportunity to educate, to empower, to make a difference? How will you extend your impact beyond your immediate responsibilities? And here's the kicker. I want you to think bigger. Dr. Richmond didn't stop at treating patients in her clinic. She expanded her reach through a podcast and an online store. What's your podcast? What's your Amazon store? How can you use the tools and platforms available to you to extend your impact? Maybe you're a teacher who starts a YouTube channel to reach students beyond your classroom. Perhaps you're a business owner who implements a mentorship program for underrepresented groups in your industry. Or maybe you're an employee who initiates a community outreach program at your company. The possibilities are endless, but they all start with the same thing: a commitment to making a difference, to seeing your work as more than just a job, but as a calling. As we wrap up, I want you to remember this. Dr. Tanisha Richmond's story isn't just about podiatry. It's not even just about healthcare. It's about the incredible impact one person can have when they approach their work with passion, purpose, and a commitment to serving others. It's about the power of representation, the importance of education, and the transformative effect of compassionate, personalized care. It's about thinking beyond traditional boundaries and finding innovative ways to extend your impact. But most of all, it's a call to action. It's a challenge to each and every one of us to think differently about our own potential for impact, to see our work not just as a means to a paycheck, but as an opportunity to change lives, to uplift communities, to make the world a little bit better. So as you leave here today, I want you to ask yourself, what will be your legacy? How will you use your skills, your passion, and your position to make a lasting difference in your community? How will you extend your impact beyond your immediate sphere of influence? Remember, like Dr. Richmond, you have the power to change lives one step at a time. The question is, are you ready to take that first step? Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now go forth, be bold, be innovative, and most of all, be impactful. The world is waiting for your unique contribution. Don't keep it waiting any longer.